self-belief and self-certainty. I mean, what are the sort of things that you do to kind of like stay in that mindset? Because obviously we always have that little voice in our heads that try to like keep us at bay or keep us in a comfort zone. How do you overcome that? Like, how do you stay on top of that?
Yeah, I think sometimes like there's definitely been points when that little voice has felt like really loud and just really critical and really like overbearing in some ways. Like definitely I could pinpoint like last year before working with the life coach actually. And that's kind of what led me to do it, because I kind of had kind of felt like I plateaued a little bit in kind of where I was at, but also not knowing what I wanted next. And that's kind of when I started to hear that voice like rearing again, well, you're shit, and well, you've had your chance now, and it's not gonna get much better than this, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of really like overtly critical, and it just started to like, and it would sort of like manifest not just in like the career, but then just how I thought about myself as a person, and then the way that I looked, and it just actually got to a point that I was just tired. Like I just got bored of it. Like I just felt like I just got to a point I was just like bored, and I think that it's also because you can't be positive all the time. And I think that, we get sent a lot of like positivity porn so much on Instagram, and how even in some of the self-help books, you're not really allowed to be down or allowed to be sad about things. But actually my aunt actually is really, really wise. She's like a kind of witchy Bruja vibe. Like she's a really wise woman, and she's always talks about like feelings as fleeting, but feelings like letting your feelings pass you by, but like looking at them and being like, oh, why did maybe dig a little bit deeper? Why am I feeling sad? And kind of delving into it rather than trying to resist it.
Yes.
So I think that last year, then I just kind of got to a point like I was aware of where I was at. I was aware that it was quite a shitty place like mentally to be, and then I had a choice: am I gonna wallow in it and continue to, because I've been wallowing, or am I going to actively like try and seek help, I guess, in a sense. That was kind of at that point. But I guess like the self-belief thing also, I think that always I can always go back to. I think that like getting the show on One Extra, I guess if you talk to like the average person that doesn't work in the music industry, they would say that you must have been very lucky to get that show. It comes down to luck, or it's one in 1,000 or 1 in 100,000 chances that you might be able to get an opportunity like that. But it didn't come easily. It wasn't like I left college and then I got this show. It took 5 years of like hustling, and 5 years of people telling me no, and people telling me that I'm not good enough, and 5 years of even my mom saying maybe you might want to think about doing something else, maybe, has it happened by now, or like even friends that worked in the building being like, yeah, I just don't really see it happening for you. I'm really sorry, but and still being able to like pick yourself up every time you had that no, and then eventually get something. So I know from 18 to 24, that was my one goal, and it took me 5 to 6 years, and I got it. So now I kind of really don't believe that there's anything that's out of my reach. And I kind of will always go back to that. Like I know it might take 6 years, it might take 10 years, it might take 60 years, but I do know somewhere I will get it.
And you mentioned before about The Secret, and I find that what a lot of people took from that. And I guess it didn't really delve into it a lot, but the book was kind of pushing that idea that God or the universe is some kind of vending machine, and not, because it's clearly, there's nothing absolutely, I understand the whole concept of manifestation, but you got to put the work in, and clearly you've done that. And
and I think you need to be ready for it as well. And I do think it was to go back to like that spiritual, wherever your belief, if you're not ready for it, you won't get it. And sometimes we think we're ready for things. So realistically, if I'd have got my show at 21 when I had planned to have got it, I wasn't mentally ready. I wasn't anywhere near ready for something like that, or I didn't even know who I was. So when I did get it, it came at just the right time. It came at the most perfect time ever.
Do you feel like you had to go through go through the resistance and the stories and the things first so that you could be completely aligned with what you're trying to create? Like that. So like you said, being ready for it, what did that mean? Like, what does that look like to be to be ready, meaning that you'd had to be fully aligned with it. So, and so you had to overcome certain parts first to get to that place. Would that be?
I think that's fair to say, like kind of, being aligned with it, but then also kind of really being in tune with yourself and what you're creating and what your output is. Because even, when I walked into that building, I just wanted to be a presenter.
Yeah.
I didn't know what kind of presenter. I didn't know, I knew I loved music, but everybody loves music, every year they would say no. Then I realized, like, oh, actually, I don't think I want to be a daytime presenter. Actually, I think I'm specialist. Oh, but this is what I think my specialism is.
To get to that,
start to define a little bit more. So had I have walked in and got that show at 21, then I would be a daytime presenter and probably living that kind of life. But would it really have served me when actually I started to get to know that's not really my personality, and there's aspects of that I'm not comfortable with or I can't be asked with. But for me, it's always about music. But what sort of music? Is it about delving back or is it about going forward? So really allowed me to know exactly like who I am, and then to have, I guess, as well, like to build a strong brand.
Yeah. Well, it seems that like everything that you're doing now as a broadcaster and the projects is aligned with your mission and your values, and it sounds like that was what those 6 years were discovering. Trying to find that purpose, and rather than just being a presenter or just being, but the why, and defining the why, and finding your purpose in music.